Hello, everyone, and welcome to Second Cup with Keith. What am I doing? Yeah, it's Keith. Welcome to Second Cup with Keith. I am live streaming here. Haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. I'm not used to being my own producer, but good to see everyone. I hope you had a good holiday, had a good Christmas with your family and friends and all that. Hope you have a great New Year coming up. It's hard to believe the year's almost over. I'm recording this on December the 29th, and that means we have only basically today, tomorrow, and the next day left in the year. It's hard to believe. Basically 2.5 days left, and 2025 is over. Hey, I guess I should always begin by saying this Choircast podcast is brought to you by my books, The Quantum Sayings of Jesus from the Lost Gospel of Thomas, Decoding the Lost Gospel of Thomas, and the Quantum Gospel of Mary, and the Lost Gospel of Truth. Both of those books are still doing really well. Last I checked, they were both in the top 10 in their categories: mysticism, Christian mysticism. I also put out a book with Matthew DiStefano called Trump versus Jesus that has exploded. It's #1 in multiple categories. It's doing very, very well. And basically, it's a response book to this crazy book they put out, Jesus and Trump, where they're comparing the quotes of Jesus and the quotes of Trump. And we thought, hey, let's actually compare the actual quotes of Trump and Jesus, by the way, because that other book would quote Jesus, but then quote Ecclesiastes, which is not Jesus. So it tells you the scholarship of the person. That book's done very, very well. Anyway, so all of that said and done. Here's what I want to talk to you guys about. Why am I doing this video? And why am I doing this podcast today? Well, mainly it's to make an announcement. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the announcement itself and why I'm doing it and what it is and all that. I'll just start with the announcement, and then we'll get into all the background stuff, to explain all the rest of it. Essentially, I created this course and community called Square One back in 2020. Over 100 people have gone through the course and are part of the it's a private online Facebook group. We do a 2-hour Zoom call every Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which anybody who's part of Square One is invited to be a part of that, participate in those calls. And we basically just talk about anything you want to talk about in your deconstruction experience. Listen to each other. Again, we don't all agree. We're not all on this we haven't all landed in the same place, but that's not the point. And anyway, let me just explain a little about Square One. So anyway, I'm making it free. It's Square One is free, and it's free forever. You will always, once you register for Square One, you will always have access to the course and the community. It never expires. You don't have to renew it or anything like that. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Woo. I apologize. You can tell I got a little bit of a scratchy throat here and a little bit of a cold. So I'm so sorry to be sniffling and sneezing in your ears. But yes, Square One is free. The course and the community are free, and access to the Zoom calls also free. So Square One is this thing I started, again, like I said, in 2020. I was noticing, that up to that point, like I was constantly answering people's questions, private messages, things like that. Keith, what about this? What about that? What do I do about this? And blah, blah, blah. How do I respond to that or the other? As people are deconstructing, their Christian faith, they had different questions and stuff. So I thought it would be much more expedient, much easier to just record it. So I recorded a series of 12 videos where I deal with the 12 major questions that I most of the time deal with when people are deconstructing. And in addition to talking about answering questions about, deconstruction, also provide some exercises, some things you can do. We talk about rewiring your brain. There's some exercises you can do for that. We talk about replacing, spiritual habits and things that you used to have when you were evangelical Christian. You no longer do those things anymore, which is fine. But what do you replace it with, right? So we talk about some things you can do to replace these spiritual practices in your life, and the kinds of practices that are actually affirming and life-giving and nurturing to your soul, rather than, religious things that you do because someone told you to do it, right? Go to a men's retreat or a Bible study or have a devotional or something like that, right? Really, it's just putting the power back in your hands to decide for yourself what works for you and what doesn't, and only doing the things that work for you. And I'll be very transparent. One of the reasons I also wanted to record this video is that, in a way, a bit of a response to some things I've seen lately online, where this keeps happening, where there are some people in the deconstruction space who want to tell you how to deconstruct, that you're doing it the wrong way if you don't do it their way and that kind of thing. So I don't do that. That's not what Square One is. I don't know how you should deconstruct. You have to know, you have to figure this out for yourself. All I want to do is basically sort of lay out in front of you a buffet of options, right? And then you can decide for yourself what works for you and what doesn't. I'm going to connect my internet here directly in case there's any lag. So anyway, that's what Square One is all about. One of the greatest things I think about it is the community itself, and the Zoom calls that we have to have, that we talk and get to know each other and listen to one another. Again, we're not trying to change anyone's mind or correct anybody. No one gets corrected. No one's like, that's wrong, or this isn't right. Everyone's allowed to be where they're at, and we asked everybody who's a part of the group to follow the rules as well for themselves. Like, we will treat you that way, and we ask that you would treat others that way as well. Anyway, as I was saying, like, I've seen some people post some things about deconstruction, and I thought, you know what, I want to not only let people know that Square One is available for free and put that out there. I also just kind of wanted to respond to some of those perspectives, right, about deconstruction. Like, I didn't create Square One to help people, stay in the Christian faith. Many people who go through Square One, they deconstruct this belief and that doctrine, and they decide, okay, this is where I'm at, and that ends up being that they still feel comfortable in a Christian church. They still feel comfortable going to a worship service or praying or having a quiet time or reading the Bible, whatever, and that's totally fine. But some people who go through Square One will deconstruct to the point of saying, you know what, I don't know that I need any of this. I don't need church. I don't need to read the Bible. I will have some practices that are spiritually meaningful for me, but maybe are not necessarily tied to Christianity, right, specifically. And so that's okay too. And I've noticed that some people in the deconstruction space, they want to say that, well, you can't burn it all down. You can't deconstruct everything. Like, the deconstruction has to have an end point. There has to be a point where you say, okay, well, I can't deconstruct beyond this. And I would say that's true if that's your conviction, right? You personally are the only one to make that decision, that I will deconstruct to this point and no further. But I can't tell you that. I would never tell anyone that. Who am I to tell you? Hey, you're doing it wrong. You can't deconstruct that or this. You gotta keep this, right? You gotta keep the church. You gotta keep the Bible. You gotta keep the deity of Christ or something like that. That's not for me to say. I don't think that's for anybody to say. So, my argument would be, whereas some people might say that you can't burn it all down, that at some point you've got to decide, that something is sacred and it has to be salvaged. I would argue that if it burns, it's not of God, So, for example, you want to get biblical, according to the scriptures, Old and New Testament scriptures, the purpose of the fire is to burn away all that is false. This metaphor of the refiner's fire, right? It's used multiple times in the Old and the New Testaments. Jesus talks about it. Paul talks about it. Isaiah, Jeremiah, they all talk about it. This idea that the fire will burn away all that isn't of God. And so if something is burning, a church, a Bible, inerrancy, the doctrine of eternal conscious torment, the doctrine of whatever, fill in the blank, and if it burns, then it's not of God. Let it burn. Who are you to try to save it? And if you are saving it, then you're the, you know what I mean? You're sort of now artificially trying to keep something on life support because someone told you to, or because that was wrong to, to question these things. No, I'm sorry, I can't go there. So anyway, square one, we don't do that. And so square one, basically the way it works, I'll post a link beneath this video, and when I also will upload this podcast, Second Cup with Keith podcast, I'll put the link in as well, where you can click on the link and you can go to Choir Academy. You'll go to the square one page. The link will take you right to the square one page, and it'll already have the discount in the link. So you'll see that the cost is $0. And then you'll register for the course. And then once you register for the course, inside the course, there will be a link that will take you to the private Facebook group. And then you'll click on that and make a request to be added to the private Facebook group. And then after you do that, I will see in the private Facebook group, because I'm an administrator, that, hey, John Smith is requesting to join, and I'll double check that you have registered. And if you have registered using the free link, then I'll add you to the private Facebook group, and now you're in the group. And the group, it's a safe place. You can say whatever you need to say, talk about whatever you want to talk about, share links, stories, questions, anything, anything that you need and want to discuss. And then, of course, we're all posting things in there also. And then, as I said, every Sunday, you're welcome to join us at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And then what would that be? 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Every Sunday for about 2 hours. And you don't have to stay for the whole 2 hours, stay for an hour as long as you want to stay. And we are in this group, we are prioritizing the new members of Square One. So if you're a first timer and it's your first time on the Zoom call, we will shut up and listen to you. We will let you talk. We will let you ask your questions. We'll let you tell your stories, and we will only jump in and respond, as needed. So yeah, that's what Square One's all about. I also created Square Two, and I personally think Square Two is better than Square One. If you register for Square One for free, you'll get an option to register for Square Two at a discount, but you don't have to. But you get a pretty good discount off of Square Two, and I think Square Two is even better. These are conversations that I recorded with really an all-star cast of people. December Rose, David Bentley Hart, Peter Enns, Brad Jerzak, on and on. Just an amazing array of people. Paul Young. Yeah, it's an incredible group of people that I interviewed about specific questions and topics that kind of came out of Square One. That people who went through Square One were like, well, I still have a question about prayer, or I still have a question about the wrath of God, or I still have a question about mimetic theory, or whatever, right? And so I recorded these conversations with different people, and that's what Square Two is all about. But again, these are things available for you if it's something you feel like you need. This sounds like something you'd be interested in. Again, I'll post a link below when this is all over. Or you could just message me and let me know you're interested, and I'll email you, or I'll message you back the link to register for Square One for free. Cool. So yeah, that's really mainly all I wanted to jump on here and talk about today. I have a bit of a cold, a bit of a scratchy throat. I'm trying not to cough here. After I record this, I might just go lay down and take a nap or something, because I'm trying to recover. But yeah, just wanted that to be out there. I know a lot of people are still deconstructing. They still have questions. I know there's a whole lot of people out there with a bunch of different, courses and communities and groups and things like that. And, a lot of them are great. So I'm not out here saying mine is the best and the only one. like, for example, I would recommend the groups that Jim Palmer leads, the one that David Hayward leads. Um, um, what's his name? Is it Doug Keathley? I think that's his name. He has a group. There's several groups out there that are wonderful, right? Many others I can't think of their names, but there's a lot of them out there that are really good. So anyway, but Square One is free. And so if nothing else, it's click on it, check it out, watch the clips, watch the videos, go through the sessions, join the Facebook group, get to know people there, let them get to know you. Join us for a couple of Zoom calls on Sundays and see if it's right for you. And if it isn't, hey, didn't cost you anything. You just say, hey, it's not for me, then that's not for you. That's fine. But I just wanted to put it out there and make it available for you. Doa Deer says, hi, Keith. Hello. Hello, Doa Deer. Excuse me. It's been a long time since I have done one of these live stream things. I apologize. I was doing them for a long time with God Squad, and then stepped away from God Squad. Excuse me while I blow my nose. And then Matthew and I were doing live streaming on Sunday mornings or afternoons with Eric Happy Hour, and then we just decided to maybe kind of back off that. We were just doing a whole lot. So anyway, yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for listening. Again, any questions about Square One, let me know. I'll post the links. And I think, this is the key thing. More important than, like, this is the thing I learned about Square One. Like, the best thing about Square One isn't really my videos. I mean, whatever. People have said they enjoy them and they're helpful and they're instructive, and that's great. I mean, I did my best to make them a good quality, right? So that's good. But frankly, the best thing about Square One is the community. It's getting on those Zoom calls and, sitting around the Brady Bunch squares, and people are telling their stories and other people are nodding their heads and wiping a tear and saying, yes, that's me. Yes, I know how that feels. Yes, I was there. And hearing your story echoed in the story of someone else is very powerful. It's very healing. It's very helpful to know you're not alone, because deconstruction can feel very isolating. You feel very alone. And that's one of the reasons I started Square One, is so people don't feel alone. So there is a community aspect to it, which I think is super important. If you've already found a community, that's great. But if you haven't found a community yet, and you feel like you would really benefit from having a community of other people who have asked some of the same questions that you have asked, felt the way you felt, been rejected the way you've been rejected, and somehow come out the other side, if that would be helpful to you to hang around those kind of people, you would find yourself extremely welcome in the Square One course and community. And it's my honor to offer that to you. So that's it, really. That's it. Short and sweet. That's all I wanted to say. I will let you know I am working on so many things that are coming up in the new year. I'm going to have, I think, like 6 or 7 new releases in the new year. I mean, if everything goes as it's supposed to. So I'm editing right now. I'm editing Quantum Theology Volume 1. The goal is to get that out in February. So fingers crossed that I get everybody's chapters in time to pull that off. But it's mostly edited at this point. I'm just waiting on a few more chapters to wrap it up. That book's going to be fantastic. Just incredible mystics and quantum physicists, authors, thinkers, contributing chapters to that book. It's so, so good. And I think there's really nothing else like it out there. And that book will be out hopefully in February. And then I'm wrapping up the final edits for my next book in my quantum series, The Quantum Gospel of Philip. That I think we're looking at May for that to be available. I just received the Spanish translation of the Quantum Sayings of Jesus, Decoding the Lost Gospel of Thomas. So the Spanish translation of that book, which is really, after over a year, that book is still in the top 10. Blows my mind. I can't believe it. So I think the Spanish translation of that book should do extremely well. We haven't got a release date for that yet, but I would think sometime between now and the summertime. Let's see what else. I am going to publish in August my first science fiction novella called Hard Video. That's as part of the Philip K. Dick Festival in August. It'll be and something we're launching called Pink Beam Press. So it'll be my book and four other authors who also have written novellas that will release all at once, be available at the festival with interlocking back covers. And if you go to the festival, you'll get, you'll be able to get signed copies of all those books from all the authors. So that's pretty cool. And then I'm also going to start writing in a couple of weeks. I'm going to start writing the next and maybe the final in my quantum series, The Quantum Sayings of the Apostle Paul. If you subscribe to my inner circle every Friday, that should start January, I think 16th or something like that. And so you'll be able to get those weekly posts, articles. Eventually they'll become chapters in that next book. That book will probably be available in November sometime. And then I'm also writing a science fiction novel. And I don't know that book will be finished and published by the end of next year or not. But it may be a year from, maybe a year and a half or something like that. Maybe in 2027 sometime. Anyway, got a lot going on. I think that's everything. I don't think I missed anything. But I got a lot on my plate, as well as, doing Heretic Happy Hour podcast and Second Cup with Keith and other things that I'm working on. So anyway, love you guys. Thanks for listening. Please, if you're interested, if you would like to join the Scrum One course and community, take advantage of that and or let me know and I'll send you the link. I hope you guys have a great day and a great new year. We'll see you next time in 2026. All right. Take care.